What do you think of
White's
this
really
position? Just let's start with a deep analysis of how things are going. Question to you guys
okay.
too. Twitch chat, chess.com chat, I'm gonna be looking.
Perfect. And as always, Twitch chat, I'm not looking at you because I want to analyze things. So the chat is now closed. So sorry if you send something at me. I don't respond because, yeah, that's why.
I will be looking,
So,
guys, don't worry.
okay. So obviously, White's queen is hanging.
Well done.
I know, right? So
You're
strong.
sharp, you're sharp.
So sharp.
Yeah.
So, so let's take a look and let's see what's to be done. So
It's important to detect the threat of the opponent, so we are starting well, yeah?
that's true. I mean, as
Yeah?
you can tell, Anna is very nice because she says kind things when I say, "Oh, look, a queen is hanging." So
Well,
that's very
it's
kind of
true.
her.
It's a fact. The queen is hanging. If you don't
It
realize
is a
it,
fact.
you lose the game.
All right, so let's look at some options here. I either have to move the queen or take the knight.
Yeah, good point. Good point.
So okay, so queen moves that
Thank
I
you, Sam,
see.
for hosting us. I also met Sam in San Francisco. The whole chess.com team.
Oh,
They are all
Copeland.
so nice. Yes, they are
Gotcha.
really nice people. And also
Yeah,
subscribe.
thank you.
Thank you, thank you, thank you.
So so the things that come to my mind are either bishop takes e4 is one idea, and the other idea is to play queen c7
Mm-hmm.
is another prospect. And then let me see if there's another queen move that really speaks to me.
Mm-hmm.
And perhaps that queen move is
So for the moment, bishop takes e4 and queen c7, those are the two moves that you consider the main candidates for white.
the main candidates.
That's very good.
And yes, these are my two main candidates.
Mm-hmm.
My point is that after queen c7,
Yeah,
I am threatening the pawn on b6.
very good.
I'm activating my queen, and queen takes b4 obviously doesn't work because I just take the bishop.
Good point.
And
That's a
they
bit.
can't
That's
play.
it. The
They may
calculation
like to
perfect.
play a move like rook c8, but of course my bishop's covering the c8 square. So
Which one would you play in the
yes.
game? Would you play queen c7 or would you take the knight on e4?
Well, let me calculate taking the knight. I take the knight if they take with.
Hi, Chesbey. Of course, Chesbey is here, and she was tied for the first place for my first subscriber. So Chesbey, don't say you were the second. I think you were tied for first place, first second together. You were just so quick. You got the subscription immediately.
Yeah, if bishop takes e4, if queen takes e4, perhaps I like queen c7 there anyway. So now I want to consider bishop takes e4, pawn takes e4, hitting my knight,
Mm-hmm.
and see. I don't like this because I do really want to fight against this weak, isolated queen's pawn.
Yeah,
So I
sure.
don't want to
So you
do
wouldn't
that.
change the pawn structure because you want to
Yeah,
keep this pawn on d5. Very good.
I like this pawn on d5 being an issue.
Mm-hmm. Very good point. So what's your move, John? And what's your
Yeah, I
move,
think I
Twitch
would play
and
queen
chess.com?
c7.
Queen c7, very good.
Yeah, it just feels I
It feels
mean, the
right.
calculation does
Yeah.
support it to a degree, and also it feels right to me instinctively.
Mm-hmm. That's the strongest move in the position. The queen was hanging. Queen c7 is an active move, as you have mentioned. The b6 pawn is now hanging. Queen takes b4 is bad because the b7 bishop is undefended in that case. So black basically has to take this queen. Or other moves
Hmm.
would be like b5, but that just looks very, very
Yeah.
ugly.
Hmm.
The game therefore continued with queen takes c7, rook takes. I will not ask you if you would play rook takes c7. And now Knight to d6. It's your turn, John, and your turn, chess community. What shall we do here? Later I'll tell you which game it was and which match, because this is from last weekend, the first ever live chess esports event, Pro Chess League Finals in San Francisco. Yes, Chess Gamer Tag, also Queen d4 was interesting. I think Queen c7 is stronger because it was very forcing, and White actually doesn't mind entering an endgame, but another good square for the Queen was d4. Correct.
Okay, let's see.
Todd, yes, we
I'm
are playing with the white pieces.
So here are my candidates.
Mm-hmm.
I'm considering bishop g4, I'm considering bishop h3, and I'm considering knight d4.
Mm-hmm. Good candidate moves.
Yeah, knight d4 I like because I'm activating my knight.
Mm-hmm.
I'm actively blocking this d5 pawn.
Yeah.
And if knight takes f5, I'm actually very happy to have this knight against this bishop on b7 because this d5 pawn blocks the bishop.
Wow, so you're not afraid of giving up that bishop?
No, not at all, in fact.
Very good. That was
Because
a
I have
very
control of
good
the
strategic
c-file, and knight
decision.
d4 actually does look very strong to me.
Guys, this is so important in this moment. What John has said about this position, that he doesn't mind his bishop being exchanged. So knight d4 is the strongest move because you don't need to worry about knight takes f5. As soon as we trade the light squared bishop of white for that knight on d6, what remains on the board, John, what is it about the minor pieces that you see?
The knight is just significantly better than, black's light squared bishop, because this pawn on d5 is actually like a real problem to white's bishop. I mean, to black's bishop.
Yeah, it is.
I mean, this is a real issue, to the point where this might sound crazy. I mean, this is actually crazy, but it might even be in black's best interest to say, take the d5 pawn, so my bishop can have some scope.
Good point. At least you would have a diagonal for your bishop.
Yeah, exactly. So I don't know. And
in some positions it might happen. Yeah.
White has control of the C file.
Mm-hmm.
And so with control of the C file and this sort of blocking this D5 pawn, which is, really limiting black's sort of light squared bishop scope, like this just feels like a much better position for white, and it feels like white has all the chances and black just needs to sort of hold.
That's the correct evaluation. Let me see if Twitch and chess.com TV community agrees with you. This was not an easy choice. I think for many players what is sometimes difficult is to understand when is it that you want to trade your bishop and when is it that you would prefer to keep it. But here I think you have explained from the very beginning that you want to play against the isolated pawn. The d5 pawn is an isolated queen's pawn, and we want to take advantage of it. The best piece to actually have an outpost right in front of that pawn is a knight, the knight on d4. Plus this bishop on b7 is horrible, as you have mentioned, it doesn't have a diagonal because of the pawn on d5. So we want to keep that bishop on the board, and we would love to get rid of the knight of black because that's actually the only active minor piece that black has. Knight d4 is the correct move, we don't care about moving that bishop. Well done.
Oh, and Anna, just so you know, for sort of, if we do hand and brain purposes, today I do need to leave at 6.
Sure.
I'm sorry.
You know what time is? What time is that for me? How long from now? How long from now?
So this is going to be an hour show.
Sure. Okay, so I should speed up. Yeah, that's a good point.
No, I'm not saying you need to speed up. I'm just.
We might not have time for hand and brain with my speed.
This is no comment about your speed. It's just,
It's okay, it's okay. But this endgame is important. So King F8 happened in the game, and once again, it's your turn, guys. John, Twitch, chess.com, everyone, and something has happened. Thank you so much. I don't see yet what happened. Is that Chess Gamer Tag? Chess Gamer Tag, you are so generous. You have just gifted the sub to Mr. Hammer, to Yoon. Yoon Ludwig Hammer. Thank you.
How to proceed. Okay, so
Yes.
what are my candidates? So the first thing that comes to mind is rook d to c1 is one move to think of. Another is, let's see. Yeah, rook d to c1, and now what else should I think about?
I think if you found the best move as a first attempt, then you probably don't need another one. Rook d c1.
I mean, I'm looking at other things, but rook d c1 just feels so natural.
Yeah, it is. It is a natural move. It just improves white's position. You double on the only open file, the c5. You support the c7 rook. All the white pieces are powerful and constantly improving. Black cannot say the same about his pieces. So well done. That's it, John. You are just too strong.
No, I don't know about that. I mean, I'm good at sort of at simple ideas. You could say that.
There's a question by five card draw that I would like to pass to you because it's he said that as a strategic player, if I like grandmasters like Tigran Petrosian and Ulf Andersson, but John has the same style, the same playing style as I do, so I would like John to answer this question.
What's the question?
If, as a strategic player, do you like grandmasters like Tigran Petrosian and Ulf Andersson?
Well, yes, Ulf Andersson is my favorite chess player. This is well known. So, yes, I would agree. I like these players very much. I would very much consider them my idols.
Same for me. But it was a very nice question, and you have mentioned Ulf. You didn't, and this list didn't include Mr. Karpov or other very positional players. But Mr. Ulf Andersson, I totally agree. I love his games. After rook d c1, black played g6. What shall we do?
Okay, so now they're making us declare where we would like to move this bishop. The question is, which diagonal would we like to keep it on? Namely, the b1 h7 diagonal or the c8 to h3 diagonal. And so instinctively, first I'm looking at this sort of c8 h3 diagonal because I want to keep control of the c8 square in some way.
I see.
But after bishop h3, the first thing I need to think about and contend with is f5, gaining space.
Correct.
And attempting to sort of entomb my bishop.
Yes.
And while this is, yes, weakening black's king side, I do not see a way to directly take advantage of this. And the other move that really comes to mind is bishop d3. And this sort of serves two purposes. One, it is eyeing the pawn a6, limiting black's, light square bishop options. And two, it's covering this sort of c4 square.
Correct. Very good. Which one would you play in a game? Because both moves have pros and cons.
Yeah, so in a game, if I had to play a move immediately, I would just play bishop d3.
All right.
And not have to think about the complications of f5.
So you play just like Varakobian. He's playing with the white pieces. The top board of the scene is archbishops. Varujan Akobian, grandmaster, very strong player, Olympic player of the United States. He's with the white pieces against Matej Šebeník, a turtle, grandmaster from the Ljubljana Turtles. both moves were good actually. So it's actually it is a moment where personal preference is what you should rely on. If you feel more comfortable about the bishop on d3, go for it. Bishop h3 also is a very reasonable move because of what you have mentioned. You want to keep it on this diagonal. You prevent moves like rook to c8. But you were worried about f5. So if you're worried about something, you're not comfortable in this position, then you don't have to place your bishop on h3. Here, perhaps g4 is a strong move, challenging that pawn immediately. But you don't have to enter on all this if this position seems to be more comfortable to you. Always go with your heart, John. Bishop d3. Perfect. Perfect move. Rook to e7. What shall we do now? Twitch, chess.com, I'm looking. So get onto that thinking mode. Let's work together. Let's train together. What shall we do about this rook e7 move?
Okay, so there is a real threat here by black. I believe the real threat here is to play rook 8 d7. And now black is trying to sort of take back control of the 7th rank in some way. So let's see what can be done here.
VMI's lifestyle. I'm back to black, but I still love colors too. And on Sunday, I'm going to be streaming about the Pro Chess League. I'm planning to wear perhaps my Pro Chess League outfit and the new hat that I have from California.
So let's see.
Chess Gamer Tag, you have so many subs. How many months is that? Thank you so much. Oh, Perpetual Stalemate, you saw the game, so you cannot comment. I appreciate that you're so polite and you don't want to ruin our educational trying to solve the position method.
So let's see. I always briefly look at these things, but I don't think there's enough compensation for the exchange in the pawn. So I'm gonna kill that line.
Yeah, do you think it's necessary in this position to sacrifice as white?
No, but I always check.
Sure. Thank you, Chess Gamer Tag, for gifting us up to Calculated Blunder.
The question is, how do I feel about the ending once the rooks come off? Because I've had control of the C file, which is a plus. But how do I feel about, rook takes e7, king takes e7, rook c7, rook d7, rook takes, king takes, these sorts of lines. And
what do you think about an endgame without the rooks on the board, if we just take off all 4 rooks from this position?
I think white has great chances just because of this d5 pawn, which is true, but perhaps I need to make sure that there aren't good chances that are sort of being passed up on. For instance, let's look at a line like rook takes e7, king takes e7, knight c6, bishop takes c6, rook takes c6, and what's going on here. There's the threat of, hold on. There's, does rook c8 force the exchange of rooks? It might. Because of the mate. No, but there's a bishop on d3. Hold on. So let me just...
Some calculation, sure. Guys, you should also calculate. John is looking at the variation with rook takes e7, king takes e7, and knight c6 check, which is a very forcing variation, so you should calculate it. Twitch chat, chess.com TV. I am looking. Thank you for the compliments, guys. I'm not going to comment on that because I'm gonna blush. Let's just keep it to chess. That's what I can talk about now. But yeah, it was amazing. an amazing event to attend, and I'm sure that this was the beginning of something much bigger. We're gonna see many events like this.
Let's see. Yeah, I think I quite like this position. I'm winning a pawn, I'm almost certain of.
Mm-hmm. So
And
what's your
so
variation? What's the
I
calculation?
think this feels, sort of,
Mm-hmm.
this feels
Forcing.
like a good try. So rook takes e7,
Yeah.
king takes e7, knight c6, bishop takes c6, rook takes c6.
All right.
And now I'm hard pressed to find a sort of strong move of, ooh, well, hold on.
What is that?
The one move I did not calculate that actually looks surprisingly like it could be strong
Mm-hmm.
is knight c4.
Whoa.
Knight c4.
What's the idea?
The idea is black's holding on to everything
Yeah.
after knight c4.
That's such
Black's
a
holding.
miracle move.
It is such, yeah, knight c4 is a very, very good move to have in this position. And so I don't think I want to go for this because knight c4 looks like
Yeah.
black is doing better than fine.
But your intuition was correct. This position would be lost for black if it wasn't for knight
If it
c4.
was not for knight c4,
Exactly.
which is
Knight c4
yeah, it's a
is
beautiful
not.
move.
Yeah, it's not a normal resource that you see, but it takes advantage of the fact that the back rank of white is weak.
Yeah.
And you were looking at it with rook c8, but in that case, white is fine since the bishop can go back to f1. We are not getting mated.
Yeah.
But after knight c4, you need to give up the bishop, and you don't have time to take any of the pawns because of the threat of mating 1, rook d1.
Yeah.
That's the point of knight c4. Well done, John. Well spotted. You're sharp. I told you.
I don't know how sharp I am, but okay, so I'm not going for this.
You're sharp. All right, if there's no forcing variation, what would you do in general in a game? What's your tip to anyone trying to improve their end game? What do you do in a position where there's nothing concrete?
You just try to, if I don't see anything concrete, I just try to sort of improve my position.
All right, what shall we improve and how?
Yes, so.
Question to you guys.
What'd you say?
I'm just telling everyone to work that they should also solve it.
I think. I may actually just play king f1.
All right. King f1.
Yeah.
Where is that king going?
I'm activating this king because I want to bring him sort of towards the center, eventually to e2.
Very good. And that's
And
the
as soon
only
as I bring him
piece.
to f1, all of a sudden, the back rank threats sort of no longer exist.
Yeah.
And so now some of these tactics black has to worry about, and they have to do something.
Exactly. So king f1 prevents the back rank problems and also brings the king closer because in an endgame you do want to have your king active. There are still many pieces on the board, so you probably don't want to get it out there in the wide immediately.
In sort of like later on when pieces get traded,
yeah,
an ideal square for the king could be a place like d4.
Yeah, beautiful square for the king.
Not in the near future.
Exactly.
But yeah.
Well done. King f1 happened in the game once again. You played just like a Kobian. King f1. Let me go back to the game. Rook takes c7 was played. I will make a move for you, John. I'm very generous today. I know. King e8. Your turn.
Okay.
Let's just continue with what you have said. So if there's nothing concrete, you can check if there's anything concrete. Of course, I don't want to tell you that never ever there's anything concrete.
No. Let me check for myself.
Sure.
I mean, the sort of concrete line that the only sort of concrete line I need to calculate, in my opinion, in this position, is sort of, first of all, I need to recheck that sacrificing the exchange doesn't give me something amazing.
Mm-hmm.
It doesn't.
Okay, that was quick.
And yeah, I need to check what's going on after knight c6.
Yeah, sure. Perpetual stalemate, that's a good comment. Plot twist, John is a Kobian in disguise.
After knight c6, maybe just rook d7 does the trick.
Yes, correct.
Yes.
He's
Yeah,
not
that just,
forced to take.
yeah.
He has
So
moved at the king.
when I've removed sort of the two concrete things that have been on my mind,
Mm-hmm.
one is, concretely sacrificing the exchange doesn't work. Knight c6, I do not like.
Yeah,
Just better my position. I think I may just play king e2.
very good. I would have played king
Yeah.
e2, and I think that's probably the strongest. Just go with the idea of bringing the king closer. He went for a4 first, but both are improving the
Yeah, okay.
position. I think king e2 is what I would have played personally. a4, he just wants to make sure that on the queen side, well, he will have the right push when he wants to. So a4 is perhaps a move you would have played after king e2, if you want to expand on the queen side. But there are several ideas in this position. It's not an only move, not the only idea.
Mm-hmm.
Black couldn't handle the tension anymore. The rook on c7 is very annoying. It cuts the black king. It doesn't allow the d6 knight to jump. So yes, he's going for the rook trade.
Oh, rook c8. Okay.
Yeah, well, I think both would lead
Both.
to...
Yeah.
There's some
Okay.
difference, but yeah, he went for rook c8. Just to make sure that you cannot avoid the trade of rooks.
Yeah. Okay, and now let me see. Again, I'm going to check.
Sure.
The exchange sack still doesn't work.
You guys asked if strategic players like Petrosian. John constantly checks exchange sacrifices. Trademark of Petrosian.
From talking to stronger players, much stronger than myself, I was surprised how often some strong positional players check exchange sacrifices, move after move after move.
And there you go, you do the same.
And so this is why I do this now, because I've seen this. So
it's a good tip. Good tip. In some positions, you might just need to do that.
Yeah, and I'm not even going to start calculating it, because even if black is fine after some of these things, there's always this rook c1 they can insert.
Yeah, correct.
Yeah. So let me see. How do I want to do this? So the rooks are going to be exchanged, but the question is, how do I want them exchanged?
Sure.
So I'm just for 1 second trying to see if there's any benefit to me moving my rook somewhere on the c file and forcing them to capture, like allowing my knight to come to c2, allowing my bishop to come to c2. Neither of those squares seem, at least at first glance, like they're improving my pieces.
Sure. So what would you do if they don't improve your piece play?
I'm likely to simply take.
Good job. Well done.
I'm likely to take, because I don't see how knight c2 or bishop c2 would better my position. I mean, knight c2, maybe you try to make an argument, but I don't see it, so I would most likely take.
Good point. Simple and effective. Taking the rook. Well, black can take back with the knight or the bishop. None of them is that tempting, but if you want to improve one of the pieces, then that's the bishop. The bishop was just very bad on b7, so now he's trying to bring it to a new diagonal.
And now, let's see.
How shall we continue?
First, I'm going to check for anything concrete.
Sure.
And without anything concrete, I'm most likely going to play king e2.
Very good. That's the game. King 2. So, e2.
Okay, but I need to check for concrete.
Sure. I'm just giving out the solution.
No worries, I'm gonna check anyway. So.
All right. Yes, serious, no, we're gonna enter endgame grinding, and John is very good at that. Too weak, too slow. I am too slow. I was going to
The first
to get
concrete thing I
trade.
would have checked had you not told me it was king e2.
Yeah, sorry about
Sort of,
that.
what's
Spoiler
going,
alert.
it's okay. What's going on in some of these knight c6 lines?
Mm-hmm.
All I want to do is put pressure on the a6 pawn, force a5, take, plant my bishop on b5, and then take the pawn on a5 with my knight.
Uh-huh.
It's the crude plan.
That sounds like a great plan.
Knight c6. Let's see. I'm never concerned about knight c4 because, in fact, I think even in this position, I may be fine parting ways with my bishop because this knight sort of on d4 seems like such a great unimposed piece, perhaps.
Oh, would you want the black pawn to be on c4?
No, not in this instance. That is true. That's true. Let me see. So knight c6. If they play a move like yeah, I don't know. I might not mind it. I'm trying to imagine. So I'm trying to imagine a position where the knight's on c4,
Mm-hmm.
take, they play d takes c4,
Yeah.
and I immediately play b5.
So you want to make sure that black will not be able to create a pawn chain where this c4 pawn is
Yes, I
protected.
immediately play b5.
Mm-hmm.
I bring my king to b4, and then I try to reroute my knight to c3.
Mm-hmm. That makes sense. Shall we just briefly look at it here on this board? So knight c6.
No, I mean, I don't know. This is a line that requires a lot
John
of
is
calculation.
saying that he's looking at positions where he will still give up the bishop for the knight, but we have changed the pawn structure. So now this pawn is on c4. He wants to make sure that black is not able to connect his pawns on the queen side.
So b5.
Yeah, if black gets this position, then this is a protected pass pawn on c4, and you don't want to face that.
No, that would be a disaster.
Yeah, so b5 he's looking at.
Yeah.
Let's say a takes, just to trade those pawns. And we shall see who is better in this position. Who wants to
Let me
be
think.
heading toward this position? Is it good for white? Is it good for black? It's not easy. But you should try to figure it out. All of you.
Yeah, so I'm gonna say I actually don't like this position.
Oh, why is that?
Because now that I look at it, black's king is far too quick to get to c5.
That's a problem.
Far too quick.
It is.
If my king, like suppose my king was on, say, d2 right now, I would say, yes, I actually like this position. I can get my king to b4 in time to stop their king from getting to c5. And now, even though this b5 pawn's on a light square, it's hard for sort of them to get their bishop and king to attack it.
Yeah, very good point. Now suddenly the black king is actually good, and it's
far
close.
it's too far away for my sort of just instinctively.
Yeah. If black plays king d7 immediately, we can still collect the c4 pawn, but he doesn't have to start like this. Well, maybe even like this, it makes some sense to calculate it because he's getting there, but he cannot play king d6 because you will take the pawn on f7 and then on h6 maybe. But still, it's a mess. So
not king d7 immediately, but bishop, let's say, bishop b7.
Yeah, and he's threatening to take your knight actually because of the
Yeah.
pawn endgame. So if black
Yeah,
takes
exactly.
here, the b takes c6, black will be able to connect his b and c
And this is
pawns
completely winning.
and get the
So
c6
then,
pawn for him.
so maybe knight d4 might be
Yeah, and
needed.
in this case, this is when
And
you
now king
mentioned.
e7.
Very good. Now the black king is coming to
I'm
c5.
sorry, king e7. That's fine.
Yeah, or d7 too, actually the same.
Yeah, it's coming
Yeah.
to d6 next move.
Yes.
And then to c5.
So suddenly it is black who has the upper hand in
Yeah.
this position.
So
Good winning chances.
I don't like this at all.
Yeah. But it's good that you looked at it because it was a forcing line.
Yeah.
We are in this position and you mentioned immediately that you would play king to
Immediately
e2.
king e2. So
Which
this
is
is
the
the move I
correct
would play,
move.
but
Correct
I wanted
move.
to do my due diligence.
You did work and you did figure out that in this position, knight c4 and capturing on c4, that's not what white wants. So we don't want to move this d5 pawn away from where it is. We want to keep it there, isolated pawn forever.
Mm-hmm.
Bishop to d7, what shall we do with that hanging a4 pawn? Or shall we capture the hanging a6 pawn? Do we want to trade those pawns or not? Question to everyone. Don't fall asleep, I'm looking. DV razor, we looked at knight c6 because it was forcing, it was threatening knight b8, attacking the a6 pawn. So that's why John was calculating that line.
Yeah, well, just because I was calculating it doesn't mean I should have been calculating it. So don't assume that.
But the idea was also interesting, that plan of attacking the a6 pawn. And actually that will ring a bell later on in this game. The very same idea, I think.
So my instinct, again, I don't want to trade these pawns. I want to keep more pawns on the board.
Mm-hmm.
I believe, and I want to...
Bieberman is not another game where Yasser resigned. I'm not that cruel. We love Yasser. Push him, baby.
Yeah. Let's see. My first instinct is to play... My first instinct is to play pawn a5, and my second instinct is to play bishop c2.
Which one would you play in the game? Or which one do you think is more logical?
Pawn a5 is the logical one.
Very good. Have I ever told you that your intuition is very good?
It seems very straightforward to me. I mean, yeah, without any deep calculation, pawn a5 just always feels sort of right.
Yeah.
Sort of fixing this a6 pawn on a light square.
Very good.
This is all I want to do.
Guys, what John has just said is super important. You've got a light square bishop, this d3 bishop. You want your opponent's pawns on that color, the same color. So you want the pawn on a6. You want the other pawn, if he pushes to b5, perfect, it's another light square. The d5 pawn is on light square as well. The f7 and the g6 pawn, those are not fixed, but they are all on light squares. And the queen side is getting fixed on the wrong color for black. So it makes his pieces more passive if he has a6, b5 as a pawn chain and d5. And those pawns are targets, because your bishop and your knight can attack those pawns, while the b4 and a5 pawns are untouchable, at least for the bishop. Very good. Good job. A5 was played, b takes. If b5 is just horrible, even worse for the pieces. What would be an idea here just to improve one of your minor pieces? Quick question. I'm not looking for anything profound, but I know that you would look at those kind of maneuvers.
What are you asking? What would I play as white here? What would my idea be?
Yeah.
Yeah, so my idea at first glance is now I would love to repurpose my light squared bishop and perhaps put it on the a2 g8 diagonal.
Put pressure on the d5 pawn. Very good.
Exactly.
Force black to be defending that pawn with one of his pieces. Good.
And I would, yeah, and now I would sort of start keeping. Now I would start thinking about bringing my knight in, and this c5 square looks very nice.
Very good. I knew you would say that. Yeah, the c5 square is extremely weak. That's a beautiful
Yeah.
outpost for the white knight. And if you land with the knight on c5, it means that the d4 square will be available for which piece?
For my king.
The king! Well done. That would be an ideal setup with the knight on c5, king on d4, and the bishop attacking the d5 pawn. Of course, it takes time and you should calculate how to carry it out precisely, but that would be a very nice setup and a winning position for white if he gets there. And he should get there. Sooner or later, he should get there. So b5 was not played, but b takes a5. Let me take back for you. I will not ask you that.
That's, again, very kind of you.
I know. Thank you, John. I'm today. I don't know what's happening to me. I'm just too nice. Bishop c8.
All right, bishop c8.
Your turn. I'm not being nice anymore.
All right, let me see. So the first thing I feel sort of just a need to calculate is, hold on, I got to calculate knight c6.
Sure.
That's obligatory. So let's see, knight c6. And now what happens after this knight b7? Yeah, okay, so I'm looking at knight c6, knight b7, after which I think after bishop takes a6, knight takes a5.
Yeah.
Yeah, both the pawns get traded. And I'm not sure. I mean, yes, there's this very weak d5 pawn, but now, there's the number of pawns on the board are getting fewer and fewer.
Yeah.
Which I'm not in favor of. So let me think. I think there's no reason for me to sort of fight what my ideal setup should be. And so now I'm just trying to decide how I want to repurpose my knight.
Sure. So what are the
I'm
options?
looking at knight b3. And I'm also looking at knight c2.
Very good.
And knight c2 feels like the much more attractive option.
Whoa, and what makes it so attractive? Explain us.
Because of knight b4.
Very good, and from that square the knight is attacking the a6 and the d5 pawns at the same time. Hard times for black. Yeah. Very good, knight c2. Yeah. Sometimes retreating moves are the strongest. Knight c6 is a very appealing move. At first glance I thought that's a winning move. But John, you have actually found the defense for black after knight c6.
Yeah, knight b7.
It's beautiful. Knight c6, knight b7. Looks like it's a horrible move. The bishop is on c8, the knight on b7, but it's very concrete. If you take on a6, looks like everything is pinned, but after knight takes a5, all the pieces are hanging.
Yeah, exactly.
So, you take one, but the opponent also takes another, and we have traded those pawns. We don't want to trade them, we want to win one of those pawns, the a6 or the d5 pawns. So well done, this was very beautiful and difficult to spot. I'm very proud of you, John, and to everyone who said...
I'm trying to get slightly strong.
You are getting very strong. I'm scared of how strong you will become. Soon it will be Anna learns chess, and it will be hosted by John.
No such thing.
Knight c2 is the strongest move. Akobian did not play it. He played knight to c6.
Okay.
You are just playing better than him.
No such thing.
Knight c2 was a winning idea. Next move is knight b4. Black cannot do anything about it. He can try to bring his king, but he will not have a possibility of defending both weaknesses at the same time. This is a winning position for white. And knight b7 in this position is a whole different story because why is it different
now
here?
we can just take.
Exactly.
I mean, there's no tactic now.
Yeah, no tactics because the knight is not tangled. There's nothing after knight takes a5 but just a hanging c8 bishop. Very good. This was actually high level tactics, the whole motif, and you just found it immediately. So I'm honestly very, very impressed. Good point. None of the grandmasters playing this game realized it. By this point they didn't have much time, so it also time factor is always an issue as well. This was a rapid game starting with 15 minutes, and this is already move 32. Don't remember exactly how much time they had, but they didn't have much. So after knight c6, what happened in the game was just a disaster. Not knight b7, but Šebenik played king to d7, just trying to come to the queen's side, stepping into knight b8. I'm pretty sure he saw that he's stepping into it. He thought that he has some chances defending by bringing the king here, but this is just pretty desperate because the knight comes back with a check too. This was the game. I'm just showing you quickly because I know you need to leave soon. And the rest was actually not very difficult. Last question for you to calculate. What's going to happen here after knight c4? How would you play? Okay, maybe last but one question. I'm still not nice.
Oh, let's take a look.
Twitch, chess.com TV. I am looking. I agree with you, James and Daniel. Yeah, John is doing very well. He's very focused on the position. That's why he's not responding to the chat. Not that he doesn't want to talk to you guys. He's super nice. Hi Fernando, welcome to the stream. Push him, baby. Yeah, that's it, Mubot. Good job. But maybe not in this position. Who knows? Is it a moment for Yasser's push and baby, or is it not a moment? According to Mubot it is. We'll ask John if he agrees with Mubot. Thank you, Alexandra, for following my channel. I'm also following your channel, and I'm so happy that you started streaming. Alexandra Kostenyuk, shout out to the former women's world champion, extremely strong player, just crushing grandmasters all the time.
Let's see. Yeah, so I'm trying to. I really want to get this right. So obviously, I need to calculate bishop takes knight, pawn takes, king d2. King b5, king c3, king takes a5, king takes c4. I'm up a pawn, but I mean, I am up a pawn. And I do have the more active king.
Awesome. Shall we go for it?
My other alternative is I want to get this right because I feel like I've actually been doing decently today. So
You've been doing amazingly, John. That's not decent. Amazingly.
So let's see. The other alternative is... Okay, does anything happen after pawn a6? Bishop takes a6. Do I see anything there? I don't see any point to that.
So what's your final decision? This is a blitz game because
no, I'm still gonna look at some.
I cannot force you to make a decision. I just don't want you to miss your meeting in 5 minutes.
That's true. Okay, then I will. I will take the pawn and take advantage of the much more active king it'll give me.
So your calculation is after knight c4, move by move, bishop takes, and either king takes or d takes. But you will play. The game was king takes c4, but d takes c4 is the same. King d2 in both cases, you bring the white king. And the time it takes for black to go for the a pawn, king b5, is a good time for white to improve his king. King c3, king takes a5, king d4. There we go. That's the square that John has mentioned 20 moves ago. He wanted the king there. There we are. And so what happened in the game, just as a last image to show you, king d4, king b6, black is trying to get back. He could have tried to defend the pawn, but on the long range it doesn't make sense. And it's not only about the d5 pawn. So after king b6, Akobian didn't even take the pawn on d5. King takes d5 is a fine move.
Right, but did he play knight b4?
Knight b4 is also a perfectly strong move. He just went for another one. So there's king d5 is winning.
Wait,
knight b4 is winning.
King e5?
King e5 is also winning, and that's what he went for. He just goes for the king side pawns.
Okay, so it's winning because of king e5, bishop e6, knight d4 is actually very strong.
Yeah, exactly. The pawn in game is winning
there. If the bishop moves, then the king is coming to f6. Yeah, of course. Yeah. Knight d4. If the bishop moves, king f6, and yeah, this is lights out.
It is lights out. There's no passive defense. The king on f6 just does the job. You cannot even defend it from e8. It's game over. Well done, John. What a day. Wow. We only had an hour to stream and you just solved everything, but also very, very difficult calculations, tactical motives, strategic decisions. What would you say about this game? What is it that you learned from this game? And what was memorable for you about
Yeah, I think the most memorable thing and the sort of main theme throughout this game was, at first we were trying to sort of say, let's find active squares for our pieces.
Mm-hmm.
This queen c7 idea, gaining control of the c file, and let's fight against the isolated pawn on d5 and the bad bishop it created in the form of black's light squared bishop.
Exactly.
And the whole game was about these concepts. So, yeah. And then fixing sort of black's weaknesses.
Exactly. You were not afraid of knight takes f5. You played knight d4 early on. You said that the knight would be better in this position because of the pawn structure, d5, isolated pawn, bad bishop on b7. Good knight versus bad bishop it would have been. Black didn't go for it. And you just kept on improving the position as you have mentioned. This knight c6 did not work because of the beautiful knight c4 move that you have spotted. Knight c4 in this position, John. I don't know if you still see the board, but you know which moment I mean. When knight c6
yes,
almost
I do
wins
know what you mean. I don't still see the board, but I know exactly what you mean.
So it was almost winning for white, but there was knight c4 tactical motive solving black's issues. And another key moment was later. Oh, can I just go back there? Last thing to show. It's already with just the minor pieces on the board. You pushed a5 and then b takes, bishop c8, and you were calculating knight c6, and there you realized that knight c6 is the move that Akobian played, and Shebenik didn't realize that knight b7 was a strong defense, and you did. You realized about this tactical motive, so I'm very proud of you, John.
Thank you. I appreciate it.
Thanks everyone for hanging out with us. John has to leave because he has a lecture, a meeting, or a mix of the two. Research meeting, very important. At which university? Tell us about what you're doing and then I let you go. If it's possible to say.
Visiting Penn State right now, doing some research, trying to help some economists with some work, and they asked for a mathematician, so I'm trying to help.
Wow. John, you are just too smart for us. You definitely have solved everything today, and now you will solve everything that they need from you at the research meeting. So have a great day, and once again everyone, thank you for joining us. Thank you Chess Gamer Tech for all those gifts.
Yes.
Thank you
chat for tuning in. I really appreciate it. I'm sorry that for most of it I was ignoring you guys, mainly because I was focused on the positions, but as always, thank you for tuning in. I hope to see all you guys next week.
Thank you.